If you're that first generation business owner that birthed your business out of tenacity and grit because you decided that the generation behind you will not repeat the cycle you had to come through, or if you've already established your business and want to ensure that you successfully continue your wealth building journey, we want to encourage you to leverage By the Book Accounting Firm as an asset to your business. We not only help mitigate taxes and keep you compliant, but we will save you time and effort by dealing with the tax laws, rules, and regulations. The basics. Once we know your business story, we will become your personal guide to financial literacy, budgeting, money management, investing, cryptocurrency, and wealth building. Let us equip you with strategies to implement new cycles to build generational wealth by the book. For more information, please visit us at bythebookfirm.com or email us at btbaf@bythebookfirm.com.
Welcome to Mogul Talk, where wealth and lifestyle converge. We are Mindset Media, dealing with business, social relevance, abundance, lifestyle, and spirituality. This is your time. This is your moment. And this is your host, Ms. Mogul, Charity Smith.
Hello, everybody. Again, it's Charity Smith, Ms. Mogul. Welcome to another special edition of Mogul Talk. All week long, we are promoting our world-class speakers who will be presenting at this year's Roar Global Summit. Today's interview, again, is spectacular. And listen, I cannot wait to bring her into the studio. She is a phenomenal leadership development coach. She's an expert in the field of development. And you will be very glad you sat through this interview and registered to hear her at the summit. So now, without further ado, welcome into the studio, Miss Constance. Welcome to the platform today. I'm so glad to have you.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, I know you to be literally an international speaker. You've spoken on many global stages. You're a published author. You're an award-winning professional in that space as well. You're also a podcast host. Had the blessing of being on your platform. And so I really wanted to have you here because I respect your acumen when it comes to leadership development. When we talk about developing people and the next profile in leadership, yours is the voice we really should incline our ear to. So now I want you to tell our listening audience kind of what has been your background in leadership development. How did you get to this space of developing the next profile of leaders?
Well, I can tell you how I got to that space of leadership development was my development was trial by fire. There were
I feel that.
no mentors. There was no one to give me guidance. My first leadership role, I was working in long-term care on the evening shift, 3 to 11, and the supervisor was fired on the spot for whatever reason. And the administrator called me to her office, handed me the clipboard, keys to the kingdom, and said, "You are it.
Mhm.
You are the new evening shift supervisor." So I was like, okay. So I had seen the things that she had done, but didn't realize that there were other moving pieces that she had not done that were needed. So it was a
Mhm.
trial by fire situation. And so for probably the next 5 years in my career, that's the way it was. You come in one day, you tour the building, you learn where the fire exits are, and that's it.
Mhm.
And you're on your own, and you know nothing about people skills. They give you maybe a stack of policy manuals for you. Who's going to read those things, in time to start the job that same day? And so I made it up in my mind that I was going to reach out and try to find a mentor or some mentors for myself to help me. And in those days, there was no LinkedIn, there was no social media.
Mm.
So it was a matter of, reaching out to people that you knew, and they may have been interested or may not have been interested and were not as committed as I needed to be. So
Mhm.
what I did was I started taking on special projects. Now, at
Mm.
that time, I worked in the VA healthcare system. And so whenever a special project came up, I volunteered.
Mhm.
I took it on, and they would give it to me and say, okay, this project involves X, Y, and Z, and we need you to come up with a process on how to do this.
I hear
Messed
you. I hear you.
up a lot of things, but guess what? My mess ups taught me.
Mhm.
That's how I learned. And that's how I learned to strategize operationally
Yes.
and how to
Yes.
put processes in place. And so at that point in time, it became my mission. You know what? I am going to begin now learning to develop others, working to develop others, because I don't want anyone else to have to go through what I went through as far as my own career development and leadership development. So that's how I got into that place and space.
So it sounds like you were building the plane while flying the plane while it's in the air.
And
Put
buying
that
the
together.
parts too. And buying the parts too for
And
the
buying the parts in the air
yes,
while building it up.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I think the audience now kind of get a picture of what your crucible of proving looked like. You talk about trial by fire, that really is trial by fire. Talk to us about the experiences. Now, let's fast forward. You've been in this space for a while. You've shown leaders how to develop their processes, their procedures, and their people skills. Let's speak specifically to the women who will be attending this summit, because that will be the space primarily that you're speaking in. How do we, as women now, really define what the next profile in leadership is for us? Now, let me qualify all of it and put it in an ecosystem for you. We've talked so many years, and you've been a part of these conversations where women have been working to define our space in leadership, and in many times because we did not have mentors to help polish or help trailblaze or prepare the way, there was maybe this pseudo masculinity that showed up. One, and I know I'm stepping on some toes, and that's okay. I'm good with that. But a pseudo masculinity probably showed up in a lot of those cases because women wanted respect. They were powerful and wanted to be seen and heard and respected for their leadership. However, the only profile in leadership was masculine. So
Yes.
now, how do we, in this stage of the game, now that we have a space in the market, now that we have our profile, how do we now refine it into the next profile of leader? And should gender even be a part of the conversation?
Gender needs to be a part of the conversation, but not the main part. And I
Thank you
say
for that.
that because, if we think about it, us as women, if we think about it, okay, we're leaders naturally because we take care of a home, we plan. You know, we got to get this kid across town here. We got to get this kid here. We got 30 minutes to get this done. Plus, you got to get dinner on the table. You got to do homework. You got to do laundry.
Masters of multitasking.
We know how to do that. Okay.
Yes.
And so, what I say to the leaders of today is you have to understand who you are leading.
That's good.
You know, because I know for myself, I was so frustrated some days I would come home because now the baby boomers, like myself, we're retiring and we're moving on. And we've got other generations. Now we have 4 generations.
You're not going anywhere. We're not letting you go anywhere.
No, I'm not going because I'm having too much fun. I'm not going. And so, you know, we have all these different generational groups in the place now. And we wonder why there's chaos because we don't understand each other's language. We don't understand each other's style of communication. So my first advice to leaders of today is to know and to understand who you're working with. I can remember I was so frustrated. I had a group of young nurses and they were so entitled. You know, that millennial generation where, you know, the winner got the trophy and so did the loser. Okay? Because we didn't want to hurt their feelings or mess up their social development. So we rewarded them.
You are going into some troubled waters now, but go ahead. Come on.
Too bad. You know, sink or swim. Too bad. And so I would come home every day and I'm like, why can't they just do as they are supposed to do? And I thought about it one day.
Yes.
I said, you know what? You are leading what you have raised. The only difference between them and him, they have a nursing degree and he doesn't. But guess what? They have that same mindset of entitlement. So that's when I began to realize I have to understand who I'm dealing with. And so I started communicating with them the same way I communicated with him. You know, and I thought about it. Sometimes I would say things to him. If he didn't get it, guess what? They didn't either. So I had to change my way of thinking, my approach of leadership. And so, you know, Maxwell and all these people put all these theories out there, and they're good to know. They're good to know. But when it comes down to the real nitty gritty of it, that goes out the window. You have to lead from the heart. You have to lead with authenticity. Okay? Absolutely. You have to lead from a place of, okay, this is me. This is the situation. And we're going to take it from there and understand who you deal with. Okay. You know, when I came up, email, and then we kind of slowly entered into emails. Some people prefer face-to-face communication. Some people prefer texting via text. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you send via text, you may get lost in the shuffle because this texting lingo, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I understand LOL and SMH, but that's about it. So we have to understand each other's method and modes of communication because communication is key. We have to be able to communicate, and it's something that we do every day, but we have not mastered that yet. So we have to learn how to communicate with who we are working with in the workplace. We have to understand what's important to them because what may be important to me may not be important to them. So we have to recognize that and understand that. Now, does that make them less of an employee because they don't think the way I do? No.
Absolutely not.
It's just a different way of doing things. And when we do that and you recognize that, then you can begin to harvest that natural talent and help them to rise and to shine and progress.
That's good. So it sounds like we need IQ, which is that intellectual part that we all bring to the leadership, but we also need that EQ, that emotional intelligence that's able to read and discern kind of when something is shifting, understanding body language, understanding nonverbal communication, understanding when to lean in and really lead from the front. Or in many cases, there are opportunities where we as leaders can stand back and let the genius just happen and trust that what we have given is exactly what is needed, and the team then can employ their own genius to move an initiative forward. Listen, I want to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want you to share some pearls of wisdom with our listening audience about leadership. I think so many times people think leadership is just about dictating off a bunch of commands,
No.
and it is that commands is a part of it, but that is, to your point, you've already answered it. That's not really what leadership is. So when we come back, if you could give us maybe three pearls of wisdom of what leadership is, and then why people should come to this summit. I know why, but they need to know why.
Yes.
Oh, come on now, why they need to come and hear your presentation on leadership development. You are second to none. So stay tuned. Let's have this one commercial break. When we get back, we're going to get into those pearls of wisdom, and then we're going to talk more about Roar. We'll be right back. And we are back. Before we went to break, Miss Constance, we were talking about the pearls of wisdom that we need moving forward in leadership development. Because the pace a lot of times is so fast in the workplace, whether it's remote or it's in person, many times leaders, particularly those of us who can be type A, if you have not learned people skills, can be very sharp with communication and can just rattle off a bunch of commands, assuming that's what leadership is, assuming that's what effective communication is. And when it does not happen, then there's this kind of this bottleneck that happens because production slows down. The leader was not effective in that moment. Give us some pearls of wisdom on how we can be more effective in developing our leadership profiles.
Well, first of all, we have to learn how to listen.
Oh,
As
that's good
leaders,
too.
we have to be quiet and just listen. Sometimes that's all an employee needs is someone just to listen.
Mhm.
Listen, and I mean listen intently, very intently. But at the same time, you listen to what they're saying, but you have to be in tune to what they're not saying. And so when I say that, watch that body language.
Mhm.
You know, think about when they come to approach you, how they were behaving when they came to approach you. Did they come from a good place and space? Were they sad when they came in? Were they upset about something? Were they angry? And then, two, is something going on in the background in their lives that's
Mhm.
driving the behavior in the workplace? So, as leaders, we have to pay attention and listen. And it's not about throwing out demands. A lot of times we just facilitate. That's what I do. I allow them to think. I encourage them to think. Sometimes they ask me a question, I turn around and answer them with the question.
Mhm. Mhm.
That way I can figure out what the goal is and what their real intent is. And I can determine whether or not they are prepared for the task at hand just by asking questions. When they ask me a question, I answer with the question. I don't give them the solution. I answer with the question. And so we have to learn to listen intently. We have to learn to take that back seat sometimes as leaders and be a facilitator and let the team lead the discussion. Let them lead the decision making sometimes, because that's how you develop people. If you never allow them to have a seat at the table and to make decisions, you're not doing your job effectively. I'm sorry, as a leader, you're not. And so my role in the workplace is, I'm easygoing. I make it myself available. They feel free to talk to me, because they don't feel free to talk to you. That's the problem. That's the problem. I make myself relatable so that they feel comfortable talking with me and sharing with me. And we have to be able to do that. Ask them about their children.
Wow.
Everybody likes to brag on their children. I did. So ask them, how's that baby? Is he walking yet? If they're in school, how's school coming? Do you need some tutoring? Do you need some help? Maybe I can help you, but maybe I can connect you with someone who can help you. Show a natural interest and concern.
Wow.
We have to. We have to show a natural interest and concern in those that we deal with every day. We have to.
And here is where I think this is so important. Now, for those of you who are listening, by the way, share, and then share again, because people need to hear this information. With all of the stresses that are happening now, socially, politically, economically, many people with their health long term, for a plethora of reasons, for a leader to show a real interest in what's happening in the team, it is an investment that gives back indelible returns, because there's an old saying that says this, Miss Constance: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
Now that's leadership 101. For those of you who are out there taking notes, write that one down. People don't care how much you know. You can be brilliant. You can have all the acumen. You can have all the stats. You can have all of that information. But people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And in this environment, that's more valuable now than I would say in any other time, because of all of the external factors and social stresses that people are going with. And here's the thing. I'm not sure that people are even aware many times of the stresses they're under. We tend to just absorb it, right? Particularly if you're a leader, make it happen, absorb it. Something happened here, logistics fell down. You absorb it and you keep going. And we develop this tolerance for stress that we many times are not even aware we've developed a tolerance for stress until something happens. And then many cases, it can be a negative experience when you hit that boundary, or it can be a learning experience. And I love what you're saying about showing. You put out a couple of nuggets here. Let me kind of encapsulate it for everybody, because we're rushing to a close here. Miss Constance said effective communication, knowing who's in the room and how to communicate. And I'm going to use this word because she said it, intergenerationally. Knowing how to communicate intergenerationally, speaking the language of who's in front of you. Then you also said we have to be an intent listener. Sometimes just be quiet and listen on more than one level. That was the second pearl of wisdom. The third one was show a genuine interest in your workforce and the people who are around you, and really understanding the people factor in leadership. Did I get it all in, Miss Constance?
You got it in, and I'm going to add one more. I mentioned earlier about being authentic.
Yes.
Abandon the used car salesman theory. That there's any used car salesman out there, I'm sorry, I'm stepping on your toes. Abandon it.
Yes.
If it's something that we cannot do as an organization, that's impossible, just tell the truth and say, well, no, we can't do that, and here's why.
Yes.
Maybe we can do this, and here's why. Or maybe we can go back to the drawing board and come up with some other options to do this. But be honest. Don't mislead people. Just be, no, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I often tell people, I say, if you ask me something and I say no, wait a couple of weeks or a few days and ask me again, because I said no at that moment. I said, but ask me again later on, because that no may turn to a yes. I said, but if you ask me something and I say hell no, that means leave it alone.
That's a wrap.
Leave that one alone. It's done. Leave it alone.
I love it. So what we can add to the end of that is set the proper expectations as a leader as well.
Hello.
Come on, set the proper expectations. And when you do that, people are more confident to follow you when you give a benchmark or a deadline, because they trust the information you are giving them in leadership. I love that. And you know what? That's going to be my mantra too. So if I tell you no, come back. But if I put some heat on it, probably need to walk away from it.
There you go. Leave it alone.
I love it. You're going to be at the Roar Summit on August 11th and 12th. We will be talking about closing the economic achievement gap for women. We're also going to talk about doing business globally. Every leader who has a team, a set of stakeholders, who's ever in the organization with you, I'm going to tell you now, you've got to have your team at the table to hear what leadership is all about. Whether you're the CEO or what I call the domestic engineer of janitors or sanitation, right? Yes. Wherever you find your leadership role in an organization, leadership is paramount. There isn't just one leader. Boom. There is not just one leader. There is a CEO. But I think the expectation that we want to now cultivate, Ms. Constance, is that wherever you find yourself in the organization, you need to lead in that space, right?
Exactly.
Tell people what they're going to walk away with when they come to the Roar Summit August 11th and 12th to hear your presentation on leadership. What can they expect when they hear from you?
They can walk away with, maybe they knew before they came to the conference or the summit that they were a leader, but when they leave, they will show enough.
Come on, show enough.
Show enough. No. Because I'm going to be talking about unleashing the true leader.
Yes.
Within you.
I love that.
That true leader that lives and resides within you, because that's what's needed.
Mm-hmm.
That is what's needed in our workplace today and in our communities today. So that's what they're going to walk away with when they attend the Roar around the globe.
I love that. I love that. Leaders, don't miss this opportunity. Again, world-class speakers like Ms. Constance will be at the summit. Nowhere will you get this caliber of information for free for 2 days, where leaders are just pouring into you acumen, leadership development, content, information, everything you need to scale your profile in leadership and in business for what I have called the next decade of achievement will be at this summit. Make sure you get ready for it. Go to roarglobal.org, register, and if for no other reason, you need to be there to hear this woman present to you what unleashing the authentic, real, powerful leader in you is all about. Constance, thank you again for joining me for this edition of Mogul Talk.
And thank you for having me. It has been my pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. Listen, you all, again, make sure that you go to roarglobal.org right now. Register to attend. It is virtual. It is free. I have removed every excuse from you not getting the information, the support, the innovation, and the inspiration you need to take your business, your leadership, your goals, your dreams, your profile, whatever it is, to the next dimension in success. Make sure you register again to hear Constance and all of our world-class speakers at roarglobal.org. I wish I had a microphone to drop but that's the proverbial microphone right there. Make sure you register for today. It's been a delight to be with y'all. Stay tuned. We have another interview coming up after a while. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for watching. Connect with us on our fan page on Facebook, Master Your Morning with Ms. Mogul, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mogul Life TV. And visit our website, youcancreateyourown economy.com and mommyscreatingeconomies.com.